It was a cold, misty night, and I was driving down an empty highway. The road stretched into darkness, the trees on either side standing like silent watchers. My headlights cut through the fog, revealing the winding asphalt ahead. It had been a long day, and I was eager to get home. Then, I saw her. A woman stood by the side of the road, her figure barely visible in the dim light. She wore a white dress that looked old-fashioned, almost like something from another era. Her long hair cascaded down her shoulders, and she stood still, her face turned away from me. I hesitated for a moment, then slowed down. "Are you okay?" I asked, rolling down the window. She turned to face me. Her skin was pale, almost too pale, and her eyes held a sadness I couldn't describe. She didn't speak but gave a small nod. "Do you need a ride?" She nodded again. Something about her made me uneasy, but I couldn't just leave her there. I reached over and unlocked the door. She slid into the passenger seat without a word. The silence was heavy as I started driving again. I glanced at her from time to time. She sat with her hands folded neatly in her lap, staring straight ahead. The air inside the car felt colder. "Where are you headed?" I asked. She finally spoke, her voice soft and distant. "Home." "Where's that?" She lifted her hand and pointed forward. "Just keep driving." A strange chill ran down my spine, but I obeyed. The road stretched on, the silence growing heavier with each passing minute. Then, suddenly, she spoke again. "You're kind," she said. I forced a small laugh. "Just trying to help." She turned to face me, and for the first time, I felt her gaze fully on me. Not everyone stops. Something about the way she said it made my throat dry. I glanced at her again, only to find that she was no longer there. I slammed on the brakes. My heart pounded as I turned in my seat. The passenger seat was empty. The door was still closed. There was no sign that anyone had ever been there. A cold sweat covered my skin. I looked around, but there was nothing, just the endless road and the whispering trees. Then I noticed something in the rearview mirror. Far behind me, standing by the side of the road where I had picked her up, was the woman in white. Staring. I didn't wait. I pressed the gas pedal and sped off, my hands trembling on the wheel. Later, when I finally made it home, I told myself it had to be exhaustion, a trick of my tired mind. But when I got out of the car, I saw something that made my blood run cold. On the passenger seat, where she had been sitting, was a single, faded white rose. It was past midnight, and the highway stretched ahead like an endless ribbon of darkness. My car's headlights barely cut through the thick fog, making the towering trees on either side look like silent watchers. I was exhausted, eager to get home after a long day, but something about the night felt off. Then, I saw them. Two girls stood by the side of the road, their delicate figures illuminated by the soft glow of the moon. Both were breathtakingly beautiful, one with long, flowing black hair and piercing dark eyes, the other with golden locks and an almost angelic glow to her skin. They looked out of place, their dresses too pristine for someone stranded on an empty road this late at night. As I slowed down, one of them, the dark-haired girl, stepped forward, raising a slender hand. Her eyes met mine, and I felt a strange pull, as if I had no choice but to stop. I rolled down my window. "Do you need help?" She nodded slowly. "We need a ride," she said, her voice soft but strangely distant. I hesitated for a second. Something in my gut screamed no, but leaving two girls alone in the middle of the night felt wrong. I unlocked the doors. "Get in." They slid into the car, the blonde girl in the back seat while the dark-haired girl sat beside me. A strange chill filled the car as soon as I shut the door. I adjusted the rearview mirror to glance at the girl in the back, but for a moment I swore I saw nothing, just an empty seat. I blinked. She was there. Smiling. "Where are you headed?" I asked, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling creeping up my spine. "Home," the dark-haired girl answered. "Where's home?" She lifted a pale hand and pointed forward. Just drive. The silence in the car was suffocating. The further I drove, the colder it became. My breath came out in small clouds, fogging up the windshield. I tried to break the tension. So, what were you two doing out there? The dark-haired girl turned to me, her expression unreadable. Waiting. For what? She didn't answer. But in the rearview mirror, I saw the blonde girl smirking. Something was wrong. I swallowed, gripping the steering wheel tighter. How long were you waiting? Years, the blonde girl whispered. A shiver ran down my spine. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. I forced a nervous laugh. Good one. You almost got me. Neither of them laughed. Then, suddenly, the radio turned on by itself, Static filled the car, hissing and crackling, followed by a faint whisper. He's next. He's next. I reached for the dial, but the moment my fingers touched it, the dark-haired girl grabbed my wrist. Her grip was ice cold. I gasped. You should not have stopped, she said. I looked at her and my blood ran cold. Her face was no longer human. Her eyes were pure black voids, her mouth stretching unnaturally wide, revealing sharp, jagged teeth. Her once smooth skin cracked like porcelain, revealing something dark and rotting underneath. I slammed the brakes. The car skidded to a stop. My breathing was ragged as I turned to the back seat. It was empty. The blonde girl was gone. I turned back to the passenger seat, also empty. The doors were still locked. There was no sign of them ever being there. But then, I felt it. A cold breath against my ear. A whisper. We're still here. My body froze. My vision blurred. I scrambled to open the door, tumbling onto the road, my heart hammering against my ribs. My car sat idling, its doors still locked. I looked around. The road was empty. But when I glanced at the windshield, I saw it. 2 handprints. One on the driver's side. One on the passenger's. Slowly, they faded away. I didn't wait. I jumped back into the car and sped away, the cold grip of fear still wrapped around my chest. I didn't look back. When I finally reached home, I sat in my car for a long time, hands shaking on the steering wheel. Then, I noticed something on the passenger seat. A single white flower, wilting at the edges. And the faintest whisper in the wind. See you soon. I still wake up in cold sweats, haunted by that night. The night when the world I knew shattered into something cruel and unforgiving. I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't supposed to see it. But fate has a sick sense of humor. It all started as a simple road trip. My girlfriend, Emily, and I were driving across the Arizona desert, heading to a remote cabin for a weekend getaway. The road stretched endlessly ahead, cutting through the barren landscape like a scar. The only company we had was the occasional gas station, a stray trucker, and miles of emptiness. We were on Route 10. The sun was setting when we pulled into a small diner for a quick bite. The place was nearly empty except for a few locals who stopped their conversations to stare at us. Something about their gaze made me uneasy. An old man at the counter spoke up. You two ain't from around here, are ya? I shook my head. Just passing through. He nodded slowly. Best be careful out there. Some roads aren't meant for strangers. I laughed it off, but Emily wasn't amused. Let's just eat and go, she muttered. We finished quickly and got back on the road. The sky had turned a deep shade of blue, and the highway was eerily quiet. That's when we saw them. A group of men dragging a girl towards a truck parked on the side of the road. She was screaming, thrashing, begging for help. My hands tightened on the wheel. Emily, call 911. She fumbled for her phone, but there was no signal. The girl locked eyes with us. A silent plea. And then, one of the men turned. A tall, broad-shouldered guy, his face shadowed under a cap, stared straight at us. A slow, cruel smile spread across his lips. A terrible realization hit me. They weren't afraid. They didn't care that we saw them. "Drive, now!" Emily shouted. I hit the gas. The car roared forward, but the men didn't move. They just watched. And then, one of them pulled out a gun. Bang! The back windshield shattered. Emily screamed. My hands were slick with sweat as I swerved, trying to get away. The truck's headlights flared to life behind us. They were following. I floored the accelerator, but the truck was faster, closing the distance. The road stretched endlessly ahead, no turns, no exits, just miles of nothing. Then, suddenly, spikes. Metal spikes scattered across the road. My heart stopped. We hit them hard. The tires burst. The car skidded, spinning out of control before slamming into a ditch. My vision blurred, ears ringing. Emily groaned beside me. "We need to run." I turned, expecting to see the truck slowing down. Instead, the headlights cut out. Darkness. Silence. Then footsteps. They were coming. We bolted from the car, sprinting into the desert. The sand crunched beneath our feet, the wind howling through the cacti. Behind us, laughter echoed, a twisted, mocking sound. I grabbed Emily's hand, dragging her toward a cluster of abandoned buildings in the distance. A ghost town. We ducked inside the first building, a crumbling gas station. The air was thick with dust and rot. I pressed my back against the wall, heart hammering. Outside, the men's voices drifted closer. She ran fast, one of them chuckled. But not fast enough. Emily's grip on my arm tightened. We had to move. Crouching low, we slipped through a broken door into the next building. An old garage. Rusted tools, shattered glass, a half-dismantled car. Then, footsteps inside. I held my breath as a shadow passed the doorway. A voice. "Come out, come out." Emily whimpered softly. I squeezed her hand, signaling her to stay silent. Then, a hand grabbed my ankle. I kicked back hard, scrambling away. Emily screamed. The man lunged at me, but I grabbed a wrench and swung blindly. A sickening crack. He collapsed, groaning. "Run!" I shouted. We dashed out into the night. The others had heard the struggle. Flashlights flickered through the dark. A truck roared to life. Emily tripped. I yanked her up just as the truck barreled toward us. A cliff loomed ahead. No time to think. No time to stop. We jumped. Cold air rushed past me. Then impact. Pain shot through my body as I tumbled down the rocky slope. The world spun, and then blackness. When I came to, the sky was turning gray. Emily was beside me, blood trickling from a gash on her forehead. The road was far above us, silent. The men were gone. Somehow, we survived. We staggered through the desert for miles until a passing trucker found us. The police didn't believe us at first, until they went to investigate. The ghost town was empty. No signs of struggle. No blood. No bodies. But my wrecked car was there, riddled with bullet holes. And on the hood, scratched into the metal, was a single word. Next time. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video to show your support and help us create more content like this. Share it with your friends and family who love thrilling and spooky tales. Comment below your thoughts, theories, or your own scary experiences. I'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to TerraFlix and hit the bell icon to never miss a chilling story. Stay tuned for more spine-tingling adventures.